Imagine living in a time when every thunderstorm was interpreted as the fury of an angry god, when a drought wasn't just unfortunate, it was a warning that the heavens were displeased. In such a world, people searched for reasons, for patterns in chaos, and often they found their answers in sacrifice, specifically human sacrifice. This wasn't just myth. This was reality in many ancient cultures. In civilizations like the Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas, sacrificing a living human being wasn't considered barbaric. It was sacred. It was salvation. These sacrifices were performed with unwavering belief that offering the most valuable possession, human life, could restore harmony between mortals and the divine. But why humans? Why not animals or food or symbolic objects? The answer lies deep within the human psyche, in our desperate need to control the uncontrollable. When we couldn't explain nature, we personified it. We told stories. And in those stories, gods looked just like us, demanding, emotional, powerful. So, when we imagined what these gods might want in return for favor, the answer became clear. They wanted something that hurt, something precious, something alive. To take a life, not out of cruelty, but out of belief. That's where the line between horror and hope blurs. Imagine the moment someone was chosen, the ritual, the solemnity, the final heartbeat offered to the skies. The act wasn't just about physical death. It was a collective psychological drama, a mix of devotion and dread, a community uniting in faith and fear. From a philosophical lens, human sacrifice presents a haunting contradiction. Killing life to preserve life, offering destruction as a plea for creation. It exposes a truth that civilizations often become more complex, not more free. Jean-Jacques Rousseau once said, "Civilization hasn't liberated us, it's entangled us." And perhaps nowhere is this more evident than in traditions like these, where the line between worship and violence becomes indistinguishable. And while we might like to think such barbarity belongs to a distant past, the reality is more unsettling. Have we really stopped sacrificing humans, or have our methods just evolved? Today, we no longer climb temples with captives, but we still sacrifice in the name of ideologies, war, politics, economics. Sometimes we crush a person's soul with social pressure, emotional neglect, or systemic exploitation. These are psychological sacrifices, invisible but no less real. We don't worship gods with thunder anymore, but we do kneel before ideologies, beliefs, markets, nationalism, and in doing so we sometimes forget the humanity of those we sacrifice. So as you drift off tonight, ask yourself, are we truly different from ancient civilizations? Or are our sacrifices just harder to see? The myth of human sacrifice isn't just about the past. It's a mirror, one that reflects the cost of fear, the weight of belief, and the price we still pay for a sense of control. Imagine this. You're sitting on a wooden chair. You can see it, feel it beneath you, sense the weight of your body pressing into its structure. The wood feels cold against your palms. Everything in your perception tells you this chair is real. But what if it's not? What if the chair is nothing more than a set of signals, electric impulses interpreted by your brain? What if all of your senses are lying to you? Welcome to radical skepticism, a philosophical approach so deep, so disorienting, it challenges the very foundation of reality itself. At its core, radical skepticism asks a simple but haunting question. Can we ever be absolutely certain about anything? You can't be certain you're awake right now. You can't be certain the world around you exists. You can't even be sure your memories are real. Maybe you're dreaming. Maybe you're part of a vast simulation. Or maybe nothing exists but your own thoughts. These aren't just imaginative riddles. They are central questions in philosophy, explored for millennia by thinkers from ancient Greece to modern cognitive science. The Greek philosopher Pyrrho was among the first to suggest that knowledge might be impossible. He believed that for every claim, an equal and opposite claim could be made. So, if you can't definitively prove or disprove anything, perhaps the wisest course is to doubt everything. Centuries later, René Descartes brought this skepticism to a new level. He asked, "How can I know that I'm not being deceived by some all-powerful demon?" He found solace in one undeniable truth. Cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. But even this is only proof of the existence of thought, not the world outside it. Think about your dreams. In dreams, you believe the unreal to be real until you wake up. Could this waking life be just another layer of dreaming? Modern philosophers and scientists have pushed this even further. The simulation hypothesis suggests that it's not only possible, but likely, that we are inside a hyper-advanced computer simulation. Your experiences, your sensations, even your suffering, none of it may be real in the way you think it is. Radical skepticism is not comfortable. It's not meant to be. It unravels the neatly woven fabric of certainty that most of us cling to in daily life. It says, you don't know, you can't know, and maybe you never will. This isn't about being paranoid or nihilistic. It's about acknowledging the limits of human knowledge. Our senses are flawed. Our memories are unreliable. Our reasoning is often guided more by bias than logic. We experience the world not as it is, but as our brains interpret it. And every interpretation is a filter, not a window. But this relentless doubt can also be liberating. When you realize that no perception is absolute, you start seeing every experience as uniquely valuable. If nothing is guaranteed, then every moment becomes a gift. Every emotion becomes a phenomenon to explore. Every interaction becomes an encounter with mystery. Radical skepticism doesn't give us answers, it gives us questions. Deep, uncomfortable, beautiful questions. So the next time you're sure of something, sure of a belief, a judgment, or a truth, pause. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? What if nothing is as it seems? Because in that question lies the beginning of true understanding. This is radical skepticism, a philosophical descent into the unknown, a challenge not just to the world but to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that's where real truth begins. There is a part of you that the world never sees, a part you bury deep, so deep that you almost forget it's there. But it doesn't forget you. It's the place where all your forbidden emotions live. The rage you never expressed, the envy you pretend you don't feel, the selfish thoughts you'd never say aloud. It's your shadow, and it's always watching. The concept of the shadow was brought into psychological and philosophical discourse by Carl Jung, one of the founding figures of analytical psychology. According to Jung, every person has a shadow self, the unconscious part of the personality that the conscious ego doesn't identify with. In simple terms, it's everything you are that you refuse to admit you are. This doesn't mean it's all evil or dangerous. The shadow can hold creative impulses, buried courage, and untapped strength. But it also contains the traits we fear: anger, greed, lust, cruelty. Not because we're inherently bad, but because society, culture, and upbringing told us certain behaviors are unacceptable. So we push them down. But here's the truth. Repressed doesn't mean erased. Your shadow leaks out in the flashes of irrational anger, in the way you judge others harshly, in the bitterness you carry without knowing why. It shows itself in dreams, in habits, in moments of unexplained emotion, and most of all, it shows itself when you encounter others. Ever met someone you instantly disliked without a clear reason? Perhaps it wasn't about them. Perhaps they mirrored something in you. something you refuse to see. This is projection, a psychological defense mechanism where we project our own unacceptable traits onto others. The parts of ourselves we can't face, we begin to see in them, and we hate them for it. But in truth, we're hating our own reflection. The shadow isn't just an individual phenomenon, it operates socially too. Cultures have collective shadows. Think of the people and behaviors that are pushed to the margins, the misunderstood, the feared, the exiled. Often society does to people what the psyche does to thoughts. It represses them. And yet, the more you run from your shadow, the more power it gains. Suppressed anger turns into passive aggression. Ignored pain turns into cruelty. Denied desire becomes obsession. The shadow doesn't vanish. It waits, quietly, until the day it erupts. That moment you scream in traffic, lash out at a loved one, sabotage your own dreams. It isn't sudden, it's the shadow rising. But there is another way. Instead of fighting it, what if you faced it? Jung believed that true growth happens not by avoiding the dark, but by integrating it. To become whole, we must confront the uncomfortable truths within us. To look at the shadow and say, I see you. You are part of me. This is the essence of shadow work, a process of self-exploration, honesty, and healing. It's painful, it's humbling, but it's necessary, because what you repress controls you, but what you acknowledge transforms you. When you accept your shadow, it stops being a monster and becomes a guide. It shows you where you've been hurt, what you've hidden, and what you're capable of when you stop pretending to be only light. As Jung once wrote, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So the next time you feel a surge of unexplained emotion, or catch yourself judging someone harshly, pause. Ask, what is this revealing about me? Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's your mirror. Only when you see the whole truth of who you are, light and dark, can you begin to become who you're meant to be. This is the shadow. Imagine reaching a point where you begin to feel an unfamiliar weight in your chest, not from personal loss or tragedy, but from humanity itself, the pettiness, the cruelty, the selfishness. And slowly you begin to believe that the real problem isn't just systems or ideologies, it's people. This is the world of misanthropy, a term often misunderstood as mere bitterness or hatred. Misanthropy is something deeper, a loss of faith in human nature itself. It is the quiet belief that, left unchecked, human beings are agents of destruction, that under our smiles lies hypocrisy, under our ambitions, greed, and beneath our civilizations, violence. This is not a new idea. From ancient texts to modern essays, thinkers have wrestled with the question, is humanity noble or a cosmic mistake? The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said that human desire is a curse. According to him, we live in a cycle of craving and suffering. We want, we struggle, we get what we want, and then want something else. And in that endless chase, we trample others. We ignore suffering. We justify cruelty. To Schopenhauer, humanity was not inherently evil, but inherently selfish. And that selfishness, multiplied across billions, leads not to paradise, but to decay. Emerson, another profound voice, offered a subtler perspective. He wrote, I do not hate people. I am merely disappointed by them. And maybe that is the truest form of misanthropy. Not rage, but weariness. Not screaming hatred, but whispered disillusionment. It grows slowly, seeded in betrayal, watered by war, fed by headlines of corruption, abuse, and apathy. Until one day you're no longer shocked by the cruelty of the world, you just expect it. When misanthropy takes root, the world becomes a different place. Crowds don't feel like community. They feel like a threat. Conversations feel hollow. Optimism feels naive. And solitude becomes sacred. But this doesn't mean misanthropes lack empathy. Quite the opposite. Sometimes misanthropy is born from deep idealism, an aching for a world that could be beautiful if only people would stop ruining it. When you watch humanity destroy ecosystems, wage wars for pride, or crush truth beneath the wheels of propaganda, it's hard not to question the species. Are we evolving, or just decorating our decline? Yet misanthropy is not a solution. It is not a roadmap. It is a mirror. It tells us something is broken, not just outside us, but within us. When you feel the pull of misanthropy, the temptation is to turn away, to isolate, to disengage, to write off the world. And sometimes that distance is necessary. Solitude can be a space of healing, of clarity. But the danger of misanthropy is that it can become a prison, a worldview so tight that it leaves no room for redemption. Yes, people lie, they exploit, they betray, but they also heal, create, sacrifice, and love, sometimes imperfectly, often messily, but meaningfully. Misanthropy may be a phase, a passage through disillusionment, or it may become a permanent lens through which the world is seen in grayscale. But perhaps the true wisdom lies in holding both truths, that humanity is capable of terrible things, and also of extraordinary beauty. To be a misanthrope is not to give up on the world, it's to see it without illusions, and then choose whether you will curse the darkness or quietly become a light. Not because people deserve it, but because you do. This is misanthropy, not hatred but heartbreak. If this made you question reality, even for a moment, subscribe to Perfection Paradox. Here, we don't chase answers. We explore the unknown,